Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Sweet Life Entrepreneur and Business Podcast. I am so excited to be joined here by my new friend, Ashlye Wilkerson. And yes, we met on Clubhouse. Ashlye is an absolute rock star. As a matter of fact, she's one of these people that those people like you're in a room and that person walks in the room and everybody just gets happier because they're there. Like the whole atmosphere in the room is just like, yay, Ashley's here. Well, that's what it's like on Clubhouse. If you're watching the video, you're going to see this, behind the scenes in this episode. And I'm so excited to have her on the show. Ashlye, welcome to the Sweet Life Entrepreneur Podcast. Tell everybody about you, what you do, and your superpower.
Hi. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. Thankful for the opportunity. Love you, April Beach, and thank you, Clubhouse.
Right.
So happy for Clubhouse because I have had the opportunity to meet some phenomenal women such as yourself. So I greatly appreciate being here with the Sweet Life. So I am a host and thought leader of the Phenomenal Women Leading community. It is a women empowerment community where we strive to help women become better versions of themselves, unlock their full potential, and achieve the goals and dreams that they have for themselves and their lives personally and professionally. So it is an honor to serve as a coach to the ladies in my community, as well as a mentor and a friend. Everyone in the community does not necessarily need coaching itself. They may be a part of the community for the support, for the empowerment, for the connections, to network with others. And so there are different reasons why people join the community, but they do have the option to utilize the coaching services if they need to as well.
And, I know it's such a fantastic resource because on Clubhouse, people actually come in the rooms that you're hosting and talk about, oh yeah, I'm in your community and I love it there. And I mean, there's nothing more powerful as a coach than having other people who you didn't even ask to be there show up and be like, oh my gosh, I love Ashley's stuff. I love being part of this. So kudos to you for truly designing and engineering a place that is so real and safe for women to grow. So it's amazing the stories that I've heard people say about this community. And we're going to be making sure you guys know how to tap into Ashlye here. So let's go ahead and talk about what business training, this show is known for business trainings and strategies that other coaches charge thousands for. And so our listeners, I know, are fully excited to come and show up here and be like, oh my gosh, what is Ashlye going to teach today? And so today, you, in your area of expertise, you are going to guide us through your framework. And let me set you guys up for this framework because yes, I get to get a little peek to it before Ashlye walks us through it today. But you guys, listeners, you know how a lot of those coaches out there are saying, hey, listen, really live your dream life or walk into who you are. And there's a lot of motivation. There's a lot of amazing inspiration out there, but there is a gap between where we want to be and actually how to get there. Well, what is so special about Ashlye is she has a method. She has a framework to actually guide you to that process. And you're going to get a sneak peek of that framework here today. Ashlye, can you tell us just a little bit about how long you have been working with people and how you really got into this space of guiding women to empowerment and achieving their goals and dreams?
Absolutely. So my background is actually in early childhood education and psychology, child psychology. And so I'm a former kindergarten, first grade teacher, and that's how I entered into the space of education in the field of education. But then as my career evolved, I became a teacher trainer. My first year teaching, the school district hired me to lead a series of professional development sessions teaching other teachers how to best teach reading. And a lot of the teachers were senior level teachers, meaning they had over 10, 15 years of experience. And I was a first year teacher leading and conducting those sessions. And so in that moment, that's when I developed a love not only for children, but a love for adult learners as well in the entire continuum of education. And so that is really the core part of everything that I do. I believe that education is my true framework. That's my pillar, that's my foundation. And I bring that into everything that I do, even as I facilitate and moderate sessions on Clubhouse. Education is a part of my moderating style on Clubhouse. So that's where I started with bringing adult learners into the fold of what I do. And from there, I ended up transitioning into higher ed. And so from teaching those professional development workshops, hosting conferences, leading seminars, developing curriculum, I then transitioned into the higher ed space. And I became an adjunct professor, a professor, sitting on a university board of trustees, and being really ingrained in higher education in the adult learning process. And so transitioning into that, I initially taught in the College of Education. But then I was approached by our local women's college, and they asked me to do something that no one ever asked me prior to them, which was, hey, can you develop a course for our women in leadership studies? Interesting. You want me to develop that course? Because my background is in education. So the courses that I usually develop are pertaining to education. It's early childhood and elementary education. And they said, yes, well, your background is education, but you're elected to a university board. It's a state level board. You're the youngest. You're the only woman of color. You lead leadership initiatives in the area. You've completed different leadership preparation programs. You would be ideal to lead the charge for developing this course, and you'll serve as the inaugural professor. And so I said, okay, I'd be happy to do that. But know that if I do that, I need the autonomy to develop the course as I see fit. And they said, sure, that's totally fine. So I said, okay. So I developed the course and I included an educational component. My husband always says that learning happens in a conversation. And that's what I sought to do in that course. So in that course, I didn't structure it as me being the instructional authority for 14 weeks. I actually developed the course to include a panel discussion 10 of the 14 weeks. And what we did was I focused each week on a different topic, and I featured women leading the charge in that topic area, in that area of expertise. And so one week it was women in religion, another week it was women in medicine, another week it was women in politics, another week it was women in media. And so for 10 weeks, I had women from all over the state of South Carolina come in. We had CEOs, we had senators, we had mayors, we had everyone, doctors, attorneys, everyone from all backgrounds come in, and they shared their trajectory. They shared their journeys. They shared their teachable moments. They shared their backgrounds. And that is where the true learning takes place. When we can glean from the inside of others, when we can learn from their experiences, when we can ask them in real time questions that we have, that's how we then answer and unlock our full potential. That's how we then develop ways that we want to improve, enhance what we do, what we offer, who we are, or identify who we're trying to become. So that's how I entered into the space. But the course was for 2 semesters. It lasted for 1 year. And then that department was downsized, and that course was not offered again after that. And I became a mother of 2 during that second semester. And so I transitioned my schedule and I transitioned my life. And when I did that, the ladies missed the community because I actually opened up the courses. I opened up the sessions of the course for people in the community who weren't students of my class. I made it open to the public and free admission. So we had women coming in from all over to sit in and listen to these conversations, and to really grow and learn with the attendees and the participants and the featured speakers. And so I did that. and they did not want the community to end. And so as a result of them not wanting the community to end, 4 years ago, it then transitioned over into a Facebook community, a small, intimate Facebook community, a few hundred people. And then from there, it evolved into mentoring sessions and webinar offerings and our conference, our Women Empowerment Conference. And so it just kept evolving and evolving based on the needs of the members of the community. And it grew even more so as a result of COVID and Clubhouse. I say the two C's, COVID and Clubhouse. And so it grew as a result of those two things. And now we have a platform on Clubhouse. We have a platform on Facebook. We have touch points on other social media processes. And then we also have a targeted group on Mighty Networks through our mentoring circle. So it's really evolved over the past 4 years. It's evolved significantly so over the past year as a result of COVID and Clubhouse. And yeah, that's how we've started.
Okay, so many, this could go in a million directions from there. I'm gonna hold to the promise of staying so that you can teach everybody your method here. A couple of things about this for our listeners. I think it's really important for you guys to pick up on, and I want to just highlight this in what Ashlye was saying, is that you see the evolution of the process of business development. So often it is tempting to think that you want to start at the very end, that you want to launch this thing and it's just going to be what it is. As a matter of fact, I had a client this morning that was struggling to move forward because she wanted it to be perfect. She wanted it to be at the end, but it wasn't an evolution of the business. And Ashlye's story is a perfect example how your ideas and your intellectual property evolves and grows. And
Absolutely.
so this is just such a great example, such a powerful story. And so want our listeners to take that away. We could have just end the episode right there and just say, see what Ashlye did, let it evolve, you know? It's so cool. So I just appreciate you sharing that so much. It's just a lot of wisdom in business growth and development there. So
thank you.
As we're sitting here right now, we did meet on Clubhouse. I actually remember now, I think we're in one of John Lee's rooms and you were asking a question about Mighty Networks, which it's a whole nother conversation that we can have. And I think that was the first time that I ever saw you. And I love how you have curated a bunch of different places for conversations to happen. So smart the way you've done that. And here on the Sweet Life Entrepreneur podcast, we're extending the conversation too, as well, with your method. This is a very important topic because of the fact that this is what every woman really wants, but yet again, they lack the framework to get to this end result. There is an idea, there is this picture painted, and there's a feeling inside women of what they want to be and who they know they're called to be, but there's usually these barriers to get there in this process. So start guiding us through your process. First of all, what is your process called so that everybody knows?
The Phenomenal Pink Print.
Yes. Okay. It is absolutely amazing. So this pink print process is Ashlye's, and you ladies can bank on it. I will tell you. So, kicking this off, you said the very first step in this process is really helping women to identify their goals. Can you walk us through the first step in this process?
Yep. So oftentimes, and I work with women on all ends of the spectrum. I work with women who are transitioning out of college and they don't know exactly what they want to do to begin their adult lives and their careers. I work with women who are moms and significant others, and they've spent a lot of time pouring into their children and their family, so much so that they feel they've lost themselves or don't quite know what they want to do next in their lives for themselves. And then I work with women who have had amazingly successful careers. They've achieved all the goals. They've done all the things, and they're still stuck with what's next. Yeah. What do I do next, right? And so those are 3 different age points, but it's really the same pain point that they're experiencing. Who am I? What do I want to do? Who do I want to become? And so That's an important aspect, an important element of our journey. And as women, we experience that element several times throughout our lifespan, our lifetime, our journey. And so really, really focusing in on what goals do we have and what do we want to do next is so important. And you have to really map out what those goals are. And those goals are not just for your professional side, it's for your personal side too. So what are your personal goals? What are your professional goals? Where do you see yourself in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 15 years? Where do you want to be? What are the goals you want to achieve during that time period? Where do you want to go? That is so critical. And that's the first step of the pink print, is identifying what are those goals.
I have a question for you. Do you ever find that when women come to this place and they want to identify their goals, do they ever feel, I guess guilt is the word I'm thinking of. Do they ever feel guilty or shy or embarrassed? Because sometimes I know that women have huge goals, like I want to be a TEDx speaker, or I want to do these really big things. And are women sometimes afraid of actually sharing how big they really want to be because they feel bad about that? Is that something that you see very often?
So I see a couple of things. I see the confidence isn't always there to work towards or to go towards those things. And so they're not confident in who they are, their abilities, their value. They don't feel worthy of attaining certain things at high levels. They feel embarrassed sharing. They get caught into the comparison trap of, I don't have what this person has. I haven't done what this person's done. I haven't attained what this person has attained. So I must not be able to get those things. And so they get sucked into that comparison trap that happens oftentimes. And then ultimately, sometimes the issue really is naming it. Being able to name exactly what it is that you want for your life, what that desire is, and then being able to work towards that thing. And that's why the pink print is so important, because it helps you to name it. Mm-hmm. It helps you to identify what's a part of it, what are the components of it, what's required to achieve it. And then it takes you through that roadmap of identifying strategies for doing that thing and achieving that thing.
Wow, it's so powerful. Absolutely. And I can imagine that is, you have a great deal of experience in all these different situations, all these different reasons why women come to the table with a big heart's desire, but yet all the excuses are the reasons why that they maybe shouldn't or don't deserve to achieve or do those things. So again, why your pink print is so powerful. So after somebody goes through this process of really identifying what those goals are, what's the next step? What do they do then?
So then the next thing I have them do is to get focused, gain clarity, because it's one thing to have all of these goals, but if you're actively trying to accomplish all of these goals, but they don't contribute to each other or they don't complement each other in any way, then you're going to find yourself squirrel, and running all over the place, right? And so you have to gain clarity. You have to get focused. And in order to do that, I walk them through prioritizing their goals. All right, so all of these are goals of ours. I have a lot of goals, but let's put these goals into priority. And that priority is up to how you see fit, the priority that you set for your goals. So it could be a time priority. It could be a finance priority. It could be whatever it is, whatever way you define that priority system, it's neither right or wrong, it's yours. So you identify how you're going to define that, and then you prioritize it that way. Okay. Mm-hmm. You do that. And then once you do that, once you prioritize it, then you go through and you get focused and you gain clarity on, these are my goals. This is how I prioritize it. This is my roadmap. This is the order in which I'm going to operate. Because now that you have this, guess what? The books you read are going to be determined by this.
Mm-hmm.
Rooms you attend on Clubhouse are going to be determined by this. The conversations you participate in are going to be determined by this. The things you watch and listen to, they're going to be determined by this. The actions that you take, they're going to be determined by this. And that's what clarity and gaining focus does for you.
Woo! That's right. That's so great. So powerful. So powerful. And I mean, I had somebody call it the other day a shiny squirrel. So it's this shiny object and squirrel, absolute fix. And I think also when women I don't know, everybody relates and sees things the way I do, but I know a lot of us are visual and we need to see things. And when we actually see that pink print, we can actually see it there. There's just so much power in having something come to life and in this very clear action plan. Okay. So somebody has gone through this process. They've gone through the process. They have this clarity. They have their roadmap that you've guided them through. They are seeing things the way they have never seen it before. Almost a simplified way, a very like all the noises calm down. They're hyper focused. Their goals are crystallized. What now?
So this is the step where we actually develop the pink print itself. One of the frameworks that I use within my framework is called SMART goals. Okay. And so for SMART goals, you're breaking down the acronym SMART. You are making sure you have all of the components that are a part of that goal. So you have the specifics. You write specific details, information needed for that goal. All right. And then the M is for measurement. How do you measure if you've achieved that goal? How do you measure your progress if you are on track towards completion of that goal? What's the measurement that you're going to use? The A is for achievable. Is this goal achievable for you? With the time, with your effort, with your skill set, can you achieve it? Is it attainable? The next letter R is for realistic. All right, is this something that's realistic for you to do? Is it realistic within a time frame? Is it realistic within your skill set? Is it realistic based on the measurement? Is it realistic based on the specifics of the details you've identified? And then the T is for time. You set a time for when you want to start this goal, and you set an anticipated time for when you would like for this goal to be complete. So time. So I use SMART goals, which is a framework within my framework of developing your pink print. And once you've already identified those goals, you've gained clarity, you've prioritized those goals, you made sure that those goals are SMART goals. Now it's about developing your strategy within your pink print. So what are your strategies for achieving each one of these SMART goals? What are the things, what are those action items that you need to complete for each SMART goal to be achieved? And that's the pink print.
That is genius. I will just say, that is absolutely genius. As someone who teaches people how to develop frameworks, this is why people in your programs are so successful. Is because you have taken the time to truly create a transformational program for them using these frameworks and frameworks within frameworks. And I have a lot of listeners that are laughing because we talk about frameworks within frameworks and methods within frameworks here on this show all the time. And sometimes our listeners are like really confused about that because they're trying to do it. Like, what's the difference? What comes first, a method or a framework? Well, this is a perfect example of how Ashlye has brought this to life in her transformational program. So great, amazing explanation and job. So I have a question for you also, because this is constantly a topic here on the show. How do you find, it's a totally random question, how do you find people tend to measure their own results? What are some examples of the way people, obviously the goal is different, so that's going to dictate the measurement, but just generally speaking, if some of our listeners are like, gosh, I really want to start measuring my results. What are some examples of the ways people can measure their own results as you've seen your students do in your programs?
Absolutely. And so some of this is a probing thing, and I have to probe out of them what I really want, what I need to know about what they want to achieve. And so, for instance, one of my clients, they knew that they wanted to sell their new book project, right? And so my question for her was, how many units do you want to sell?
Yeah.
And they said, I didn't think about it. And I said, well, you need to identify, you need to know how many units you're trying to sell, because knowing how many units you're trying to sell will help guide you when you are utilizing your strategies and you are really targeting in on your book promotion. You'll know exactly how many people you want to target, how many groups you need to speak to, if you're on track for selling the number of books that you're trying to sell. And then I challenged her to take it a step further. Now that you know how many books you want to sell, I want you to break that down into the 3 categories that you offer. How many paperback books? How many hardback books? How many Kindle versions? Know what you are striving to do, and then identify the measurement. So if a business owner says, I want to increase my revenue, by how much? If a business owner says, I want to sell more products, how many units? If someone says, I want to lose weight, how many pounds? If I want to save money, how much do you want to save? If I want to eliminate debt, how much debt do you need to eliminate? Knowing what that number and that measurement is helps you to then target in, right? If you're trying to make an additional $20,000 a month and you have services and products that are 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and you're trying to make an additional $20,000 a month. Okay. It's different to say, I'm trying to make an additional $20,000 a month versus saying, I'm trying to close 2 $10,000 clients.
Right.
I'm trying to close 4 $5,000 clients. I'm trying to close 20 $1,000 clients.
Great example.
Now we took our goal from, I'm trying to make more money a month, to, I'm trying to make an additional $20,000 a month, to, I'm trying to close $21,000 clients, to, I'm trying to close 4 $5,000 clients, to, I'm trying to close 2 $10,000 clients.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. What a great example of what Ashlye just shared. So bring it down. Ask yourself more specifically. Such a great example. Okay, so your students, they've gone through this point. They have their pink print. By the way, such a cool name of your signature framework. I love it. And they have their phenomenal women leading pink print.
Yes.
And it is their, what happens next? And I already know what you're going to say. And obviously our listeners are probably like, okay, well then they need to do it. But like, let's actually talk about what this really looks like in real life. What's next?
So all of my clients will tell you that I say 3 things to them. Number 1, take action. Number 2, don't let me work harder on your goals than you're working on your own goals. And number 3, I will fire my clients, meaning I will fire you if you're not taking action. I will fire you if I don't see you committed to your process. I will fire you if you're not making progress. I will fire you if you're not doing your homework, which are whatever the action items are. I will fire you if you're not honoring your commitment in yourself and your investment in yourself and your time needed to pour into yourself and the things that you want to achieve. Making
Absolutely
that you're taking action, that you're working hard on your goals, and that you're honoring the commitment with yourself. to do so.
Amen. That is so important. And I love that you fire your clients. I think that is such an important thing to do. It's almost like, you're welcome. Here you go. I'm going to fire you because something needs to change here. And what was this, your second thing? Don't let me work harder on your goals than you. Woo. We're gonna get that out. That's gonna be an Ashlye Wilkerson quote that goes out with this podcast episode. All right, so my team, as you're listening to this, pull that quote out. That is like the winner. I mean, that's just amazing. And there's one other quote you said, as we're wrapping this up in the beginning, is that you said to me before, behind the scenes, before we started recording, and I wrote it down because I was like, God, it's just so important. Is that you said we bring all of what we are to what we do.
We bring all of who we are to everything we do.
To everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is also so important because I think that especially those of our listeners that are transferring from corporate and really getting into entrepreneurship, or those people who have been entrepreneurs for a great deal of time, which is a lot of most of our listeners are now in that scale phase of their business. There is this division where people think, okay, well, this is life and this is business. But I love your philosophy. It's a philosophy that my husband and I abide to as well. And our family, it really is. It's everything who you are is brought into this. And I love how you teach, creating this cohesive harmony between everything we do, everything we were designed to do for the people that we were called to serve. And so I really love everything that you teach, Ashlye. And I love you being here on the show.
Thank you, gorgeous. I appreciate it. Thoroughly enjoyed myself.
You are just a gem. I absolutely love it. So let's talk about how you guys can connect with Ashlye. So as you know, now we have our regular weekly Sweet Life Entrepreneur podcast room on Clubhouse happening every single Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern time, where you guys get to jump in and jam with our guests, talk about the topic of this week. So this week, especially if you're a live subscriber to this show on all of our podcast listening channels, which is everyone, as you guys know, even Pandora and Apple Music now, we're everywhere. As you're listening, make sure you join us on Wednesday and you get to connect with Ashlye directly as an extension of this podcast episode. So she is going to be there like she always is on Clubhouse, totally there, pouring into you and really taking your questions and workshopping with you beyond what we're talking about here on the episode of this show. And besides that, okay, so those of you guys who are like, oh my gosh, Ashlye is exactly what I need. I'm ready to move. I want my pink print right now. Ashlye, how can people move forward and get in line as far as joining your program or working with you privately?
Absolutely. So they have a few ways they can do it. They can connect with me personally. It's ASHLYEV on all social media platforms. So you can connect with me at Ashlye V on all social media platforms. They can also go to my Linktree/Ashlye V. And when they go to my Linktree/Ashlye V, they will be able to see, they'll see the community group that's on Facebook, the free community group. They'll also see the option to get registered to attend our second annual Living and Leading Phenomenally Conference taking place on October the 23rd. They will see details for coaching with me. They can join the group mentoring coaching circle community, or they can register to sign up for a free consultation with me for one-on-one coaching services. So either way, whether they are in the free community, whether they are joining us on Clubhouse, they'll also see all of my social media connections on my Linktree, so they can email me directly. They can tap into any and all of my social media pages right there on that page. Everything is right there, easy peasy for them to access me and access the Phenomenal Women Leading community.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I
Thank
just
you
absolutely adore you. It's my pleasure. Absolutely adore everything you're doing. And thank you, Clubhouse, for connecting us.
I love Clubhouse.
Right. Thank you, Clubhouse. half our listeners aren't even on there yet. So they're Android listeners. So I promise you guys are getting on there soon. In the meantime, connect with us on Instagram here. And of course, this is episode number 228 of the Sweet Life Entrepreneur podcast. So we will make sure that all of the show notes are available for you at sweetlifeco.com. Click on the podcast and you guys know the drill. Episode 228 will have all the goods in there. All right. Thanks again, Ashley. Appreciate you.
Beautiful.